Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Raw Life Health Show. Today on the show, I'm going to do a response video to my friend John Kohler and fellow raw food vegan for many years on the topic how to start or resume a raw vegan diet if you get off track. Now, John and I are very good friends. I've known John for a very long time. As a matter of fact, he's one of the only people I know who's been eating a raw food diet as long as I have been eating it. We started at the same time about 29 years ago as of this video, and we both went through many different transitions of the different raw food camps and the raw food diets out there, so to say. And John really wants to help people just with their health overall. Like me, John overcame a serious disease, spinal meningitis, I believe it was, with juicing. He has a big passion for juicing. If anyone's looking for a juicer, his channel, Discount Juices on YouTube, is excellent. And his channel here is OK Raw. If you're looking to learn about raw food, here it is, OK Raw. He has a large amount of subscribers. And then the thing he's really known for is he has a channel called Growing Your Greens, which he teaches about how to grow your own greens, pretty much grow in a garden. And when I met John, his house was just a house. And then he got this revelation that he's going to make his front lawn into a garden in Northern California. And he did. And he went on to have a YouTube channel called Growing Your Greens. And now he has almost 1 million subscribers. And he's inspired me to grow my greens more and not only focus on growing fruit. So he has a lot of great information, but this is an important topic. So normally often I comment on videos where people are new or not as long as I've been eating a raw vegan diet, and I want to just help you to understand what I have found to be true and not true and what those people are saying. Well, this video is a little different. John and I have collaborated a lot over the years and done videos together, as our experience or the amount of time we've been doing this is similar. This topic is important to touch, and so I want to kind of go along with what John's saying and see where I could add to it, if there's anything I disagree with, and just encourage you to somehow see this video somewhere, some way, because it's good information here. So how to start or resume a raw vegan diet if you get off track. I'm going to put the link below to the original video, and you can check out the other videos on John's channel. As he says, most of his videos are much longer. This one is not as long, so I presented a good opportunity for me here to comment on it. So let's get started now and do this here. And now, look at the title, How to Start or Resume a Raw Vegan Diet if you get off track. So starting a raw vegan diet or resuming a raw. Now, to resume a raw vegan diet means you've been on it, but you messed up, and now you're back on it again. To start means you never ate it, but now you want to start doing it. And I want to start off by saying raw vegan diet can mean a lot in today's world. It can mean there's many different ways to eat a raw vegan diet. And you know, if you're not on a 100% raw vegan diet, you're really not on a raw vegan diet. You're eating a diet that has a lot of fruits and vegetables and fresh food in it. But it's not raw. It's most likely vegan. And I'm not talking at all about raw meat here. It's just there are some people that eat raw animals, which is not something I or John recommends. But so if you're eating anything less than 100% raw vegan, you're on a diet that has a lot of fruits and vegetables in it, but it's not necessarily a raw vegan diet. But regardless of the point, I'm not into labels. I don't care about the labels. If you want to go 100% raw vegan, or you want to continue doing it after messing up, we're going to get some good tips here from John, and I'll comment on those as well. So let's go. Here's his channel. Intro.
All right, this is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. This episode is actually spurred on by a friend of mine who was previously raw vegan, and now she eats, I don't know, a small percentage of raw vegan.
Look at the background of all the greens he has growing. John currently lives in the Las Vegas area, and it's supposed to be a desert. And look what he's got growing on in the back. It's amazing, really amazing.
vegan foods. She just basically defaulted to like the vegan mode, eating kind of healthier and sometimes not vegan foods. And I know a lot of you guys are in that position. Maybe you were raw one time, you felt great, you felt amazing, and then you slipped a little bit, and then you started eating some more processed foods, and then you got more processed foods, and now you don't eat a lot of raw vegan foods anymore.
So, I want to comment on that. Processed food versus raw vegan food. You can have raw vegan food that's processed. I mean, if you go to the store, they have raw vegan candy bars and raw vegan snacks. They're processed. They're in a package or a bag or something. John and I both promote eating the food as fresh as possible and least processed as possible. And on that same note, you could have cooked food that's not as processed as the raw vegan junk food. So the key to health is really to have your food as fresh as possible and as least processing as possible when it comes from a diet standpoint. And so don't get mixed up by I'm a vegan or I'm a raw foodist. No, it's like I eat less processed food or I don't. Now, John has added, he calls it over the years, and more recently he calls it, he always used to brag and say, I'm a 99.99% raw. Because I don't know if it's something I'm eating that's not, but everything I tend to do is 99.99% raw. And then a couple of years ago, he started to realize there are certain foods that you can get medicinal properties out of them from steaming them or cooking them a little or heating them a little. So he says heating them, but basically it's cooking them. So he has added some cooked foods back into his diet, but for the most part, he's been 100% or 99.9% raw vegan for the last 29 years or so. In the last couple of years, he's added some heating foods. So it's great. He's experimenting. He continues to experiment. But I just wanted to say that here now because I don't want you to think that all raw vegan food is not processed or all vegan food is over processed, because that's not necessarily the case. You need to be careful. Vegan cookies or raw vegan cookies are still cookies. So remember that. Eating healthy, fresh, ripe organic fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds with little processing is the ideal. So let's continue.
Or maybe some of you guys out there just want to get into a raw vegan diet and have never really gotten into it or don't know anything about it. And this video is for you. This is going to be a shortened, condensed format compared to my normal videos because I just want to give you guys some straight up tips and get you guys started. So the first thing I want to say is on my journey, I started back in 1995 eating a raw vegan diet for specifically my health and my immune system and to build my immune system up. And since that time, I'll tell you guys what I learned is this. You want to focus on getting more raw fruits and vegetables and especially leafy greens in you, you know, and then also the other thing about raw foods is that while raw foods will, you know, not heat their food, what I will tell you guys is that you want to minimally process your foods that you do consume. You know, raw in most cases is best. In a few instances, it's not the best. That's why you want to check out my link down below on why I started including more heat processed foods to be even healthier than 100% raw vegan alone, in my opinion, would give me. Now, the other thing I want to say is that raw vegan diets pretty much focus on maximizing the amount of fruits, vegetables, and hopefully leafy greens and sprouts and other plant foods, such as nuts and some seeds.
Now, let me say this, that John, as you can see from behind him, is a big advocate of eating leafy greens. And I second that. I think it's very helpful to get the minerals from the greens, and it just adds variety to the diet. And there's so much you can make, and the juicing the greens, it's wonderful. But there are people out there that call themselves fruitarians, and they don't believe the greens are as necessary or as important as John and I believe. So there are people on a raw vegan diet or fruitarian diet that, and even fruitarian diet means somebody who's eating, it could mean somebody who's eating only fruit or somebody who's eating mostly fruit. Now, some of you might think right away, well, that's too much sugar. Well, it is all relative to how much you're eating and also the type, because there are a lot of fruits that do not have sugar. A cucumber's a fruit. and peppers are fruits. Anything with a seed is a fruit. So, if somebody says they're fruitarian, that doesn't automatically mean they're overeating on sugar or overeating on fruit. And fruit sugar, by the way, is fine. I'd be more concerned about getting the fruit ripe and fresh than I would about the about the sugar in the fruit. The sugar in the fruit is not like corn syrup, which a lot of the studies are done on sugar that say it's bad. Processed sugar is terrible for your body. The sugar in fruit, if it's picked ripe and fresh, is okay. It's fine. Now, if you're someone who suffers from a sugar-related disease, such as cancer and diabetes or something like that, you need to pay special attention to how much sugar you're taking in, because as good as fruit is, it does not cause cancer or diabetes. However, if you already have cancer and diabetes and you're eating a diet that's highly processed with processed sugar, yes, then too much fruit sugar or sugar from fruit can have an effect on your overall health. But if you're not eating the processed foods with all the junk and everything else, you can get away with eating a good amount of sugar and be just fine if you're an active person. So, but the point being is, John talked a lot about leafy green vegetables, but I wanted to make the point that there are some people that are on a fruitarian diet or eating mostly fruits. They're not all doing high sugar. Some of them are doing high sugar fruits, some not. But there are some people that believe that there are different ways to eat a raw food diet. And I'm a fruit snob. I don't even eat fruit unless it's it has to be in really good shape. John's like that with leafy greens. He grows leafy greens so much, and so he has a higher standard in the taste of the leafy greens. I'm like that with fruit. I can't go to the store and buy a mango, and I'm struggling to get good bananas from the store because I'm growing mangoes and bananas, and they taste so much better. So it's something to consider. However, when I lived in New York, I used to not grow any food and eat what I can get. And the other thing too is there's semi-processed foods that a lot of raw foodists enjoy, like durian, which is a frozen raw food. So it's not ideal as fresh, but it's a treat or a snack or something like this. So let's continue here.
To much lesser extent, things like beans and grains that can be sprouted, but most raw food styles don't even consider those as foods. So I really want you guys.
I'm a big advocate of, by the way, of sprouted beans. Sprouted beans and legumes are a big part of my diet, and I sprout lentils. I sprout mung beans, and I also have green grass sprouts. So for me, that's a big part. And I have found over the years that that's healthy in keeping you successful at a raw vegan diet long term. That's one of the things that I feel helps me and will help you be long term successful, is including sprouts in your diet. And they're so easy to grow in the house.
To overall just eat a diversity of plant foods. Yes, my diet is still a strong emphasis around fruits and vegetables, and I consume massive amounts of those with smaller amounts of other whole plant foods that can be quite healthy for you, in my opinion. As you guys can see, I'm sitting in my garden today, and gardening is one great way to get you out to exercise more, but more importantly, include more fresh fruits and vegetables in your diet, especially if you grew them yourself. Another point that I really want to mention, you guys, before I get into my 5 tips, is I want you guys to think about, eating more whole plant foods, especially leafy greens, vegetables, and fruits, to crowd out the other foods. Even if you're not going to be 100% raw foods, and in most cases, I don't necessarily recommend people be 100% raw. You don't get a gold star. Nothing magical happens to you. I've been 99.9% raw for most of my raw food journey, and you don't get any specific magical things in my personal opinion, although some people may claim otherwise. That being said, what we do want to remember is that we want to eat as much fruits and vegetables and leafy greens as we can and crowd out the other foods, especially processed junk foods, vegan or not, animal foods in excess, processed animal foods. These are quite toxic. Ultra processed foods made in a factory. These have been proven to be not healthy for us when overconsumed. All right, so down to my first way to include more raw vegan foods in your diet or restart and get them back into your diet is, number one, I'm gonna start off with this. You gotta have a reason to do it. If you don't have a reason, you're like a ship that sets sail from the port of Los Angeles.
I don't know if these tips are in order. I know he's going to give 5 tips here, but number 1, he says have a reason to do it. You know, and I know Dr. Fred Bishu has been on a diet for a long time, raw vegan diet. You know, when sometimes I would want to do a long fast. If I want to do a long fast, he says, why? What's your reason? So if somebody says they want to go on a raw vegan diet, have a reason. Let's hear this. This is excellent tip.
Without a rudder, you don't know where you're going to end up, where you're going to go, or you're just going to be traveled by the wind and where the engines take you and whatnot. So I want you guys to have a specific reason why you're doing this. Why is it important to you? Maybe it's because you have children. You want to see them graduate because you're not in the best of health. Maybe you have some health ailment, right? And you know that when you eat processed junk foods and go to eat at the fast food joint, right? You start aching. I mean, I don't know what's going on with you, but you know, you have to have a reason. I want to eat more raw vegan or more whole food plant-based diet, minimally processed because this, right? Write that down, write it on your mirror, write it on your bedstand before you go to bed at night. When you wake up, before you brush your teeth in the morning, if you do that, read it on your mirror to keep you motivated so that you have a reason to do it and then it'll keep you on track. That's like the number one most important thing, because if you don't have a reason, you're not going to do it, right? For example, my friend that's gone back to eating more cooked vegan foods, you know, she's now having like arthritis pains and all these other things going on in her body. But, you know, she's sucked into the taste sensations and how she likes to eat those foods. And because it's quote unquote vegan, doesn't contain sugar, she feels all right that, you know, she's going to have those pains and she's living with them so she can enjoy her food. And you know what? I respect that completely, because that is a choice she gets to make. That's a choice you get to make if you want to live with the...
Now, this is a good point. Excellent point. But when you have a reason, make sure you got a good reason. Like, your reason shouldn't be, I want to eat a raw food diet to lose weight. And then when you lose the weight, you're like, all right, well, I don't have a reason to be on this anymore. So make it a long-term reason, not just some short. Well, it could be a short if you're trying to overcome something, but you don't want to go back to your same problem. So don't just say, I mean, I sometimes tell people eat fruits and vegetables for 30 days, see the difference that you feel. And most likely they'll feel better and want to continue. But to go out there with a goal is, I just want to temporarily eat this way as a cleanse to overcome something. But then if that's what you want to do, okay. But then when you go back, don't go back to where you were to begin with. Try to end up a little bit more forward from where you were. So this is a good tip, is to have a good reason, to let it motivate you. And think about that. You know, why do you want to do this? Why do you want to eat what people would call an extreme diet? And it's really not extreme when you think about it. It's just having a lot of fruits and vegetables in your diet. I don't know what the big thing is, what people always say, oh, you need this. So very good suggestion or tip here by John.
Health challenges and other things going on with you from not eating a healthy diet, you know, you could do that if you guys choose. But number one, I want to tell you guys, have a reason that'll help keep you motivated. Second way to restart or start eating more raw vegan foods is just simply have them available and put them front and center. When I walk into my backyard, what do I see, right? I instantly see all these vegetables that need to get eaten, you know, including my mustard greens that are purple over here. I got bok choy, got tatsoi over here. I got my nice deep red Lola Rosa lettuce. I got regular green lettuce, and I even got my escarole over here. And
it's like a health food store in his backyard. And by the way, if you go to a health food store and there's no produce, it's not a health food store. Okay, keep that in mind. That needs to be produce in a store to be considered a health food store. So John's here in his Living House health food store talking about these things. But yes, have raw food easily accessible. So having that on hand or having a store close by that sells it definitely helps in resuming it or getting into it, is to have these things available.
Endive. So yeah, that's really cool. But I want you guys to have it front and center, whether you're having a garden and growing lots of vegetables to eat, you know, or whether you don't have a garden and you could just go grocery shopping. Like I went grocery shopping this morning.
Yeah, you don't need to grow your foods to be successful at eating a raw vegan diet. I did it for many years in New York without growing food. So you can do this. And if you don't have room to grow a garden, you can at least grow sprouts if you want to grow something, which I do recommend. But John has mastered growing greens, and if you're not there yet, don't think you can't be successful at a raw food diet. He just said he goes to the grocery still as well. His grocery bill's gonna be a lot less than all of us because he's getting the food from what he's growing. But I just want to make that clear. You know, you don't have to do it that way, but it's gonna cut down on your bill, and the food's gonna be readily available. But let's hear more.
I went and picked up organic Fuji apples, organic oranges, organic blueberries, and a few yellow dragon fruits, and I loaded up on them. So I have those front and center. I always have lots of different kinds of fruits and vegetables for me to eat. I have 3 fridges, which is probably a little bit too many. So you don't need 3 fridges. But basically, I want you guys to stock yourself full, your countertops, you know, your fridges or fridge with produce, fresh fruits and vegetables, because if you don't have it in your house when you're hungry, you're not going to eat it, because you're not going to surely go out to the grocery store to buy a banana to eat, right? If you don't have it in your house, you're not going to eat it. So buy these things in abundance, you know, put them in a big display bowl on your dining room table. If you hang out watching TV, put it on your, you know, coffee.
So this is an interesting point. I like to tell people, instead of just having fruits and vegetables available, make sure the junk food's not available. That's an important thing, because if you have both, let's say you have a bunch of fruit and a bunch of junk food or non-fresh food, then you got to make a decision. You might choose the non-healthy food for so many reasons of taste and comfort and remembering it. And so I think more important than having the good food available is not having the bad food around. Because if you have them both around, then you're most likely not going to make the best choice always. Better to have nothing around than the unhealthy stuff around. Because you know what? If you're in the mood for food and it's not available, you could fast, or you can miss that meal and go out and get yourself some raw food. So yes, having it available is a good point. Not having junk food is even better point. And as for an abundance, I'm not sure we need to have an abundance available, because you don't want the food to go bad, because then it's kind of discouraging. Oh, I'm spending all this money on food, and you know, and now I can't eat it all. It goes bad. Like I even juice, and sometimes I buy a 25-pound bag of carrots. You think I'm thinking saving money, but it takes me a long time to get through 25 pounds of carrots. And sometimes I'd rather get them a little fresher. So, you know, have a good amount available, but there must be a fine line between a good amount and overabundance or something where it's just too much. So keep those things in mind. Another suggestion I have is really a cool suggestion is, even though it's not ideally as fresh, have some frozen food. Like bananas are wonderful to freeze. So, if you're not in the mood for a banana, even though it's there, but frozen, you can make banana ice cream or banana smoothie. Definitely is helpful. So have some good bananas, or maybe even jackfruit, or whatever you could freeze. Have that available as well, even though fresh is best.
Coffee table. If you work on an office, you know, have a big bowl of fruit in the office. And when you're hungry, right, instead of even having to get up and go to the next room, you can just grab in that fruit bowl and chomp in to some fresh fruit. Bananas are convenient, oranges are convenient, apples are convenient, although there's so many other fruits that we should be enjoying besides just the standard common fruits. So aside from having fruits front and center, you know, on display outside of the fridge, you know, fruits can be stored outside the fridge depending on what they are. Many common fruits can. So for example, my friend has bagels on her countertop in her kitchen, so when she goes in there, she sees the bagels and then she wants to eat the bagels, and yes, they're vegan and sugar-free. But nonetheless, you should have a big pile of bananas or apples or oranges sitting right there, hopefully instead of the bagels or even with the bagels, so that when she sees it, you know, what I do, I could get out a bagel, have to cut it open, then I gotta like toast it if you do that, or put some nut butter or, you know, sugar-free grape jam on it, or you can just grab a banana.
Now it's interesting what he's saying. You know, I have children, I have young children, and they do eat bagels. So they are in the house. And I do have both options for them. And sometimes they want the bagel with the cream cheese. And now, after doing this for 29 years, I had no temptation at all for any of that. Even though sometimes I might reminisce and telling my children a story. Oh, I used to eat that. I used to eat that. No temptation at all. However, if you're just starting out or you're just getting off cooked foods or resuming, it's probably not best to have those things around. It's easy to give into temptation at the beginning. Not only temptation, it's just you might really still have a taste for those things, which you'll lose it after a while.
Banana or apple and just instantly put it in your mouth and eat it and chew it up. Yes, you could eat banana peels. That being said, most people will peel them. Likewise, you know, if you guys have in your...
That's a whole nother thing, what he just said about eating banana peels, and we'll get into another video about that, but I wouldn't focus on that for now. We want to eat things that we're going to enjoy, and even though some things are edible, they're not necessarily enjoyable, so keep that in mind.
Your fridge, you want to put your fruits and vegetables up to the front of the fridge and hide all the other stuff in the back of the fridge. So when you open up your fridge and you look in, you instantly see fruits and vegetables staring you in the eyes, waiting to be eaten.
That's, John, we know it's there. We know the stuff's still there. The people are just going to push that out of the way and move it to the side and grab what they want in the back. I know what you're saying about the visual effect, but no, do not have that in the house if you don't have to. And, but, yeah. And you don't need to have all the fruits and vegetables in the fridge. For what I do is, I used to be under the thinking, I'm only going to eat when I'm hungry. We should only eat when we're hungry is what I used to teach. I don't teach it anymore. Because a habit hunger, we're always hungry. And one of the big things for me is to teach people not to overeat. And if we fill our heads up with the ideas, I'm only going to eat when I'm hungry, and we're always hungry, then we're always eating. Eventually, we're going to run out of something fresh, or we're going to make a bad choice and choose something different. So what I like to do now is I only have 2 meals a day. And for some people, maybe you want 3 meals a day. And that's it. There's no snacking in between. If I am in the mood for food in between, maybe I'll make a juice, a green vegetable juice. But I know that I'm eating my first meal this time, my second meal this time, and I'm being done at this time. I'm not just going to the fridge whenever I want. I pretty much have my food ready for me for the day. At least in my mind. I used to physically have it on the counter, what I'm going to eat today. This, and this. But now it's in my mind. I know what I'm going to eat. And sometimes I'm not well prepared, so I got to think, well, what do I have available in the house? You know, when you used to grow up and eat a certain way, you'd be like, well, I'll just make something with all the leftovers, right? Well, it's kind of the same thinking. It's like, well, what do I have? Like, I prefer to eat mono meals of just fruit by itself if I'm eating fruit. Instead of having an orange, an apple, and a pear, I'd rather have just oranges or just apples or just pears. But I don't always have that choice. So if I do have just an orange and 1 pear and 1 banana and 1 apple, maybe I'll just chop that up into a bowl and sprinkle some coconut on it and make a little fruit salad or something. It's not my preference, but I'm going to use what I have. I don't like to see food going to waste. I really don't. So I'm going to use what I have and make what I can with it. But I'm prepared. I do my best. If I'm at Costco, I'll pick up a bag of oranges. If it's not, in the summertime, my fruit trees are loaded with fruit. But in general, it's not always like that. So I prepare myself. I try to think ahead about what I want. I don't just go to my friends and say, oh, what am I going to eat for dinner tonight? No, I know in advance. Not only does it help when you go shopping to be ready if you want to make a recipe or a particular type of salad or salad dressing, to have that on hand, but the last time you want to be making decisions is when you're in a highly emotional state and when you're in the mood for food. If you don't get food when you want it, you turns into a highly emotional situation, and then we don't make wise choices.
Eaten. I mean, that's pretty much how it always looks in my fridge, because my fridges are always packed with a myriad of fruits and vegetables. So yeah, make them available so you'll eat them more often. Another comment I wanted to share regarding this point is that fruits and vegetables have a high water content, so you will need to eat more of them as compared to like a cookie or a candy bar or even a bagel. So that's why it's important to buy in bulk, buy in abundance, especially if you haven't done this before. You're going to see, to be full, I need, a couple apples. I can't just eat one apple, it's not going to do it for you. So that's why I like to buy an abundance of food. And of course, before the food's going to go bad, I could juice it or put it into a smoothie or even freeze it.
That's a very interesting point, but it's a controversial point because yes, what he's saying is the junk food's more dense and might give us a sensation of being full quicker. However, through dehydration and not getting the nutritional needs, people are not necessarily going to be satisfied for a long time if they're eating the junk food. So if you're eating a cookie, oh, it's so pleasurable. You're eating it and you're satisfied. You've eaten it. And even though you've given your body something heavy to deal with and dense, you haven't met your nutritional needs. Matter of fact, you're making the body work harder to try to get what it can and get rid of the waste. As opposed to eating an orange or an apple, it's so fresh and water content wise, it's hydrating you, not dehydrating you like the other foods might be. So it might take more in eating it, like John's saying, at that moment to give you a sensation of fullness or coming close to it. However, it'll last much longer. So if you're going to eat like 4 oranges versus 4 cookies, you eat 4 cookies, all right, you're done. Then a little longer later, no, I want something else. But you eat 4 oranges, it's like, wow, I'm good for the day. I'm hydrated and so on. So that's what I find, so. And also a lot of the junk food, I believe they literally put chemicals in there to make you crave more food and crave it. So not only is it less in nutrients, you're also craving it more. So yes, while you're eating the food, like the fruit, you might need more because it's not as dense, just to give you some sort of feeling of sensation. I have a lot of people that like they eat a standard American diet and they say, oh, I get full in 1 banana. I don't know how you can eat 3 or 4 bananas in 1 meal or 1 smoothie. Because you're eating all that other junk food. If all you were eating were bananas, you'd be able to do it. I'm not an advocate of 30 bananas a day or 30 nothing a day, but you want to make sure when you do eat, you're eating and not snacking. That's another thing. Snacking is not a good idea. It's gonna mess up your eating times. So try to have your set times, and let's continue.
It, so I can use it for later. The third way to eat more raw vegan or restart eating raw vegan is just grab fruit first, right? Fruit is the easiest food on the planet to eat, right? If you're going to eat a bagel, don't eat the bagel until you say, hey, I'm going to eat 1 piece of fruit or 2 pieces of fruit, right? When you do that, now you've displaced room in your stomach for the bagel with the fruit, which in my opinion is significantly healthier than the bagel, right? So, and then you might just eat 2 apples and then like, oh, I'm not even hungry anymore. I don't even need the bagel. And then you don't even eat the bagel, right? So just by doing that little tip, right? Hey, if I'm going to eat this, before that, I'm going to have 2 cartons of blueberries or whatever, right? I do that myself a lot. I'll just like, oh, I want to have some, whatever, dehydrated crackers. John, just go out to the garden and pick some greens or, eat some blueberries first. And I'll do that. And I'm like, oh, I'm not really hungry. I don't need the other stuff now. Right? So you guys could do this too, no matter what else you're eating.
So John mentioned dehydrated crackers, and I want to bring up this point. And I like this point about grabbing fruit first. Excellent, good information. Very good point. But I do want to mention that how to start or resume a raw vegan diet if you get off track. I do want to talk about raw food recipes. Now, for whatever reason you might have of wanting to be on a 100% raw vegan diet or a high raw vegan diet, raw vegan recipes, even though they are processed, will count as raw food. You can literally say you're on a raw food diet if you're eating a lot of recipes. as somebody who's a long-term raw foodist, I don't think a lot of recipes are a good idea and a way to go. I'm not a big advocate of a lot of dehydrated foods. Currently, I'm not consuming any dehydrated foods, but when you're starting out, it's a tremendous help to eat dehydrated foods and recipes, to stay on this diet, to make it interesting, to make it satiating. So raw food recipes would be one of my tips, definitely, if you want to start or stay on a raw vegan diet. When I first went raw, I was trying to find recipes and make recipes to keep it interesting and exciting before I knew all the fruits and before my body got adapted and adjusted to just eating lighter foods. The dehydrated foods will give you that same heaviness feeling as cooked foods without the same result as cooked food. So it's one step above cooked food is dehydrated recipes. I mean, fresh fruit and fresh foods is all the way up to the top, the best you can do. But if you're struggling to stay on a raw vegan diet, the recipes might help you, and I recommend you keep that window for a short time and not focus on that for a long time. And it's so interesting, what I have found after eating this way for almost 30 years is when I first started, I would eat dehydrated foods and I would eat my raw food recipes just to help me to stay raw and do it. But then I went for a long period of time where I didn't have any dehydrated foods, very little recipes. And whenever I ate a recipe, I didn't feel good. I was eating pretty pure and clean and simple as possible. And I always recommend simple is best. Then I went on a fast years ago, and a really long fast. And when I came during that fast, I would look at a lot of the recipes I used to make. So when I got off that fast, I started making a lot of those recipes. Dehydrated recipes, raw vegan bread and raw vegan pizza and all this stuff. And I mean, when I say a lot, it's maybe once a day or once every couple of days I would eat it. Never more than once a day. And I got to a point where my weight was always pretty much the same since I went on a raw vegan diet. But I put on like 10 pounds, maybe even more, by eating the dehydrated recipes. And that's not a good thing. One of my reasons for eating this way is not to be overweight. So I come to the conclusion I have to cut back on the dehydrated food and the processed food, because it's still processed even though it's dehydrated. And since going back to the way I used to eat, my weight went back to the way I used to eat. Simple and delicious. But if your goal is to start or resume a raw vegan diet, recipes and dehydrated food have their place. And I think they'll help you to accomplish your goal. They're not the ideal, but to accomplish this goal, there'd be a pick of mine to discuss, or tip of mine.
Choose fruit first. It is so simple, easy, no preparation required in most instances. My fourth way to eat more raw vegan food or to restart is to eat 2 or 3 of these different options a day, right? As a meal. So this will displace, or, you know, when you're eating these foods as a meal, you're not eating some.
This isn't only a response video, it's also a reaction video, because I didn't see this far into the video yet. So I'm interested to see what he's going to say now.
Something else that's very important. And these are not rocket science, guys. Number 1, have a salad. A salad should be a mainstay of a raw vegan diet. It makes me sad when I see people not eat salads on a raw vegan diet. You know, people forget that, you know, while fruits are amazing and I love them, we got to eat our vegetables, and my money is more on vegetables for a long-term health.
If the goal of this video, or if the title of this video was how to stay healthy on a raw vegan diet, I would agree with this point, eat salad. But if the title of this, how to start or resume a raw vegan diet, I'm not sure salad would be one of the 2 or 3 tips I'd recommend. The fruit is sugar and it tastes amazing, and if you're getting it ripe, it's great. So I believe a salad is extremely helpful. But with the goal of resuming or starting a raw diet, I'm not sure. Like green juices, I think green juicing is great. But I'm not sure that's going to get someone to start the diet. Starting the diet is, hey, I'm eating fruit, I'm eating recipes, and I'm going to do this. And then you want to get serious about your health. Okay, I'm going to cut back on the recipes and replace it with more whole foods, and I'm going to eat less, fruit and balance it out more with greens, and it's going to be great, and it's going great. But yes, having salad is definitely, if you're making a good salad and a good salad dressing, that's one of my tips of staying raw or resuming or starting raw is learn to make good salad dressings. Because no matter how many leafy greens you have, if you don't know how to make a good salad dressing, most people aren't eating it. There was a time I was working at a restaurant in New York, and I would just be munching on kale all the time, munching on kale. Then there are other times I don't like kale. So, a good salad dressing, though, will make kale pretty amazing. So those are things to consider. So my tip is always have good salad dressing recipe and the ingredients available.
Benefits and long-term stability on a raw vegan diet. So I want you guys to have a nice large salad every single day. Some raw food camps don't promote this, and it makes me quite sad that they're not promoting eating high volumes of vegetables. Even furthermore, some raw food camps won't eat different kinds of brassica greens or all these things. So I want you guys to eat a salad. Now that's all right if you guys don't want to make a salad because it's too much work. I mean, you could buy a little 1 pound box of like greens that are already pre-washed and ready to eat. If you don't want to do that, then at least
what I do often is I'm busy, I'm always out. So often I will have those pre-washed greens. And so if I'm taking a long drive, let's say, I'll have those pre-washed greens in the car and maybe some nuts or an avocado. And I'm just munching on those greens as I'm driving. Every now and then I'll take some nuts or a bite of the avocado. And that's it. That would be more, I guess, good for a video how to stay on a raw food diet, not how to start or resume. So maybe that's not for this one, but how to stay on a raw food diet. I got to make a video about that. But yeah, at least get the pre-washed greens if you don't want to make a salad. But making a salad would be the way to go. Now, some raw foodists that say, oh, I'm going to make a humongous salad or a big salad. I mean, there's a difference between a good sized salad and a salad that the bowl's bigger than you. So, remember, we want to make this enjoyable, okay?
Minimally, make a fresh juice and drink a juice every day. My daily juice is a green juice. I'll have a green juice no matter what. In rare instances, if I'm not traveling, I don't, but I always have green juice that I always bulk make, which we'll talk about in a second. But have some kind of juice, hopefully a green juice or a vegetable-based juice. And then the third one is, if juice is too much work to do, right, just make a blended smoothie. I recommend only vacuum blending these days. Links down below on how you could turn your Vitamix or Blendtec into a vacuum blender so you can increase the nutrition, increase the flavor, and increase the storability, and also decrease bloating or gas you may get, when you do make smoothies. So
one of the big things that I did getting into this way of eating was Dr. Fred Bishy told me about what he called a blended salad. And some people call it an energy soup. But blending a salad, it's amazing. And I often have blended salads. I had a blended salad last night. So I really like blended salads. John's talking about the vacuum blending, which he found takes blending to the next level. And like he said, the links are below in his video. And I'm going to put a link to the original video below. So definitely check out John's videos on vacuum blending. It does raise the quality of the food if you are blending. So I do recommend it.
You're going to have a green smoothie, or what I like to do some nights is actually I'll just make a blended salad where I'll put in about a pound of tomatoes in there, a bunch of greens, a handful of nuts, some spices, some herbs, blend it all up into like a blended salad smoothie and drink it, right? In this way, you can up your greens game, because we talked about fruit by displacing other foods because the fruits are so easy to eat, but have 2 or 3 of these options, whether it's a salad, a juice, or a smoothie a day, right? And that's going to literally displace other foods you'd be eating. Making some of these are not really that difficult. You just have to learn the fine tips, to make it. I mean, the smoothies are the easiest thing. Just put some water or coconut water in the blender, put a bunch of greens in there, put a little frozen fruit, blend it up, and drink it. Boom.
For me personally, I don't love green smoothies, but I know it's a great successful tip on helping people get into it. For me, what I do is if I can't get a salad, I'm getting a green juice. I'm getting a green juice or a blended. I try to get the greens in every day. I do. I think it's helpful, and you can do it through a juicing, through blending, or through a salad. But I find that to be helpful for me maintaining a raw vegan diet long term. And but like I hear what John's saying, and I agree that if you don't want a salad, at least do a smoothie or a green smoothie or a juice for sure.
Boom. You're eating more raw foods and you're making it simple for yourself. Now, my fifth and final tip is because my friend like works every single day, 7 days a week, literally. She gets home from work and she's tired. She doesn't want to make any food. She's just out of juice, right? I know some of you guys that happens to too. You work all day, you're tired. And I mean, honestly, some days I work and I work from home and I'm just tired. I'm like, man, I don't feel like making anything today. So honestly, I'll tell you guys what I do is I do batch food preparation. I will do batch juicing. Link down below to my video where I show how I batch juice in the Nama J2, my green juice.
Okay, while we're speaking of juicing, I have found that juicing is very helpful if you want to do a healthy raw vegan diet long term, but most juices aren't going to cut the job. It's really not difficult. It's just a big inconvenience when you have an option to throw something in a microwave oven or to take out a juicer, juice, and then clean the juicer. And I'm so happy that there's a new juicer out now, which I heard about from John originally, was the Nama J2 juicer. It's excellent. Excellent. And it's opened up a whole new area of juicing for me, and it will you as well. It's so easy to juice in a Nama J2 juicer. I highly recommend it. And I'm going to put a link below where you can buy the Nama J2 juicer and also get a discount on it with my coupon code that I'll put below. Basically, use Paul10 when you buy the Nama J2 and you'll get a discount on that. As for this tip of having batches available of stuff available, the more food is cut, as soon as you cut the food, it starts losing antioxidants and it's not as healthy as it once was. So I like to get things as quickly as possible and eat them as quickly as possible. But that being said, I shop at Costco and I try to get certain things in bulk. So, just convenience-wise, time-wise, and everything else. But making all my food like on a Sunday for the week, it's not something I do or have done. John has a lot of experience with that because that's what he does. He makes a lot of batch green juice and so on. But I don't. When I juice, very rarely, if ever, do I leave it left over. I'm finishing it right away. And then I'll juice again if I want more later. And I know what John said, it's not easy to juice every day. But with the Green Star, that's my old juicer. With the Green Star, it was difficult to do that because even though the quality of juice was great, it wasn't that easy to make or clean. However, with the Nama J2 juicer, it is that easy to just take it out, juice it, and you're done. So I like to juice fresh pretty much always, even though you can juice and vacuum seal, to try to preserve it. I still like to juice not beforehand and just when I'm going to have it.
That I make, every day is a little bit different variation. I also make batch vegetables, raw salads and raw soups. Link down below to one of my videos on my raw soup creations where I make a big batch. I'll store it in vacuum sealed mason jars and I'll just eat one a day. And of course, especially this time of year, I have so many greens that I need to harvest. Like all these red lettuces are starting to bolt, so I got to cut them all down. And I'll basically cut all the red lettuces, maybe a few green ones too. I'll make a big salad bowl that you may see on my Instagram, @GrowingYourGreens. So follow me on Instagram if you're not already. And then I'll make a big salad bowl, make a dressing, stir it all up. I'll have like 1 quart of the salad that day, and then I'll pack the rest up into mason jars that are vacuum sealed that I'll easily store for the next 5 days. So literally, if you just took one weekend day to batch prep a juice or a salad, you could have these to eat during the week. I don't necessarily recommend pre-preparing smoothies because they kind of go bad even if you are vacuum blending and vacuum sealing them. It's not my favorite because smoothies are so easy and the blender is so easy to clean. I would just make those on demand as needed. But nonetheless, having these items on hand so when you come home from work that one day and you just like, man, I'm not making a salad, I'm too tired. You can just open your fridge, grab the whatever you made, the juice, the salad, and just start eating it or start drinking it. And boom, you're eating more raw foods. And once again, the whole goal for me and what I want to share with you guys is you want to displace the foods you would otherwise eat with more fruits and vegetables. And I mean, another thing I do these days, which is not raw food, but I basically will cook up different vegetables in the Instant Pot and then batch make that. So I'll make like 3 quarts of steamed greens.
It's so interesting to hear John say that after knowing him for so long and knowing he was 99.9% raw for so long, to hear him about cooking foods. And I'm not knocking him. We all have our choices to make and our reasons. But it's interesting to hear him say that. Again, for me, I don't like this last tip, but maybe to stay on a raw food diet, but to start or resume a diet. I mean, everyone has their own schedule. But for me, I don't find the food tasting as well as if it's pre-made. I mean, at most maybe a day. If I have a recipe left over that I've eaten and I couldn't finish the salad, maybe a day at most. But to juice 7 days in advance, I mean, that's the way some people roll and do it, and that's fine. If that tip helps you, that's wonderful. That's great. So keep that in mind. I'm a minimalist. I don't like having a lot of things. I actually had a second fridge. I just got rid of it because I don't like having a lot of stuff. I mean, I would want to live more like the Amish and not have any fridge. and just, now I did just buy a freezer to freeze my massive abundance of mangoes that I get during mango season off all my trees. But, I don't, as much as I like seeing a full fridge, I'm a minimalist, so I don't want too much of overabundance of anything, really. But I'm not disagreeing with this point. I'm saying if that works for you, great. That tip wouldn't work for me.
Greens with other cut up vegetables, beans and rice sometimes, and mushrooms in there, and then I'll store them under vacuum. Link down below to a video that I made years ago on my Growing Your Greens YouTube channel where I showed how I did this for my parents, and now I'm just doing it for myself. This is another way I could get more greens in me and other vegetables, and one of the healthiest ways to do it at that. So, in the end of this video, I don't want you guys to restrict yourself too much and make it too hard for yourself. I want you to set easy and obtainable goals, like just to include X percentage more raw foods in your diet, to be X% raw instead of 100% raw. I'm going to just be like 50% raw. All you guys should be able to do 50% raw as it is, man. Eat some extra fruits and have a salad, have a green smoothie.
Bro, if 50% of your diet is not raw fruits and vegetables, it's not good. Not good. And again, if you're not 100% raw, you're not on a raw food diet. You're just eating a diet with a lot of fruits and vegetables in it, which is fine. Years ago, somebody gave the name High Raw, which I don't like that particular name. I would just say, no, you're eating a diet with a lot of fruits and vegetables in it. But what I recommend to everybody, I don't even recommend people go on a 100% raw diet unless you have an illness that you're trying to overcome like I did. I say, look, eat maybe 80% raw and eat some cooked food. Just eat the raw food first. And I like a lot of these other tips and suggestions as well.
The vacuum blended, hopefully, or have a juice, and you could really up your raw percentage game. And here's the thing, guys: the more fruits and vegetables to eat, minimally processed, the healthier you're gonna be. And that's one of the big secrets of the raw vegan diet, right? It's about what you're leaving out. So get rid of all those processed vegan junk foods, the stupid bagels, the stupid vegan pre-made pizzas that don't have any cheese on it, that are still, processed grain products and all these things. We want to get back to eating whole, real foods, guys. So hopefully my friend will watch this video and hopefully be motivated a little bit. And hopefully some of you guys out there that are in the same predicament that she's in, she was on track, got off track. Hopefully some of these tips that I've shared with you guys today will get you back on track to eating more fruits and vegetables. And actually, with that, I got to start harvesting some of my greens, or actually purples, to make my evening salad. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did and want more simple, short videos like this, please be sure to give this video a big thumbs up. Also, please be sure to share this video with other people you feel get help. And be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss my new upcoming episodes that are coming out every 5 to 7 days. You never know where I show up or what.
Definitely subscribe to John's channel, OK Raw. I'm usually not promoting or de-promoting a channel that I comment on, but in this one I am promoting it and definitely recommending it. His channels, all three of his channels, OK Raw, Growing Your Greens, and Discount Juices. I like all his channels. His social media as well. He's on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, of course. And like and subscribe to this video. The original link to this video is below as well. I thought it was a really important topic for me to share. And I prefer these types of videos. You know, I know a lot of people don't have time to sit down and watch a much longer video, but put in the comments the questions what you prefer, and if you'd like me commenting on him or somebody else you want me to comment on their video, let me know. This was an enjoyable video to make, and John's just going to share a few more of his information about what he's doing. Like I said, John and I are good friends, and it's great to know people that are healthy. That's another good tip. If you want to get back into eating raw or start resuming it again or start it, is surround yourself with people that understand about the raw food diet or understand health. Because if you surround yourself with people that aren't healthy and they're mocking the raw diet or they don't like it, unless you know that support can make a difference with you sticking with it, starting it, or resuming it. So that's another good tip and suggestion I would say. I also want to suggest is the seasons. You know, if you're living in a colder environment, it might be more challenging to eat all raw. So consider that. Also think about the money aspects. It doesn't need to be expensive to eat a raw vegan diet. However, it can be very expensive if you're going to eat out at raw food restaurants all the time and so on. So it can be the least expensive or the most expensive diet depending on how you decide to do it. Another good tip and suggestion I have is to have the equipment available to make it easier to make recipes. The one and only thing you really need in a kitchen is a knife and a cutting board. That's all. However, having a juicer and a good juicer, and I recommend the Nama J2 juicer more than any other juicer. Link I'll put below so you can get that at a discount. But have a good blender. A Vitamix blender, and you can convert your Vitamix blender now to a vacuum blender or even a vacuum blender. Great suggestions that'll help you stay raw or go back to raw. And a food processor is really a food processor with the S-Blade. It's very helpful in making raw foods. So those are things to consider as well, and some other tips and suggestions. Again, if you're in a colder environment, you might prefer more highly dense raw foods like nuts and bananas and less watery content foods, whereas you're in the tropics, you might want more things like watermelon and the high water content foods and cucumbers. So consider where you live when you think about this.
You'll be learning on my YouTube channel. Make sure you click the little bell so you get notified as my new videos come out. And finally, be sure to check my past episodes. Past episodes are a wealth of knowledge. Over 800 episodes at this time on the channel dedicated to you guys all about eating more fruits and vegetables in the best ways possible. So with that, my name is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. We'll see you next time, and until then, remember, keep eating your fresh fruits and vegetables. They're always the best.
Thank you, John, for getting on here and doing this video, and thank you all for watching. Put your comments and questions below, and let me know what you want to see more of on this channel. And for John Kohler and myself, keep growing and have a great raw life.
Nature's wealth, good for your health. This is the Raw Life Health Show.